Hello and welcome to the True Crime Never Sleeps podcast. I'm your host, Larry Leese. And on today's episode, we continue our season of Decoding cults with the FLDS. But first, we gotta thank our sponsor, Audible, for sponsoring this episode. If you're looking for the best place to get audiobooks from any kind of genre, check out Audible today. If you want a free 3-month trial and a free audiobook of your choice, head on over to audibletrial.com/Larry21. Without further ado, on to today's topic. The Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a religious group that emerged in the early 20th century as a split from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The FLDS is a polygamous group that believes in the principle of plural marriage, or the practice of having more than one spouse. The group is headquartered in Hilldale, Utah, and Colorado City, Arizona, also known as the Twin Cities, and has an estimated 10,000 members. The history of FLDS is closely intertwined with the history of the LDS Church and the practice of polygamy. Polygamy, or the practice of having multiple wives, was a central part of early Mormon doctrine and was practiced by the church's founder, Joseph Smith. However, the LDS Church officially renounced the practice of polygamy in 1890 as a condition of Utah's statehood. Despite this, some members of the church continued to practice polygamy in secret, and several splinter groups formed that continued to openly advocate for the practice. One of these splinter groups was the FLDS, which was founded by a man named Leroy Johnson in the 1930s. Johnson was a member of the LDS Church and a former member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, a high-ranking body within the church. He claimed to have received revelations from God that authorized the continuation of plural marriage and the establishment of a new separate church to practice it. The FLDS has been led by a series of controversial figures, including Rulon Jeffs, Warren Jeffs, and Lyle Jeffs. These men have been accused of sexual abuse, fraud, and other crimes, and have been the subject of numerous investigations and legal proceedings. The group has also been accused of practicing gender and racial segregation and of exerting control over its members through manipulation and coercion. Despite its small size, the FLDS has attracted significant media attention and has been the subject of numerous documentaries and books. The group's secretive nature and controversial practices have sparked public outrage and calls for investigation and reform. In recent years, the group has faced a number of legal challenges, including the confiscation of its property and the prosecution of its leaders. The FLDS is a complex and controversial group that raises important questions about religion, freedom of belief, and the role of the state in regulating religious practices. While it is important to respect the right to freedom of belief and the autonomy of religious communities, it is also important to ensure that the basic human rights of all individuals are protected. The FLDS and other polygamous groups have faced criticism and scrutiny for their treatment of women and children, and for their use of manipulation and coercion to control their members. The FLDS has been the subject of numerous legal and regulatory actions in recent years. In 2008, the group's leader, Warren Jeffs, was convicted of sexual assault and sentenced to life in prison. In 2015, the group's property in Hilldale and Colorado City was seized by the state of Utah and placed into a trust, following a lawsuit alleging that the group had engaged in a pattern of discrimination against non-members. In addition to these legal actions, the FLDS has faced criticism and scrutiny for its treatment of women and children. The group's belief in plural marriage has raised concerns about the unequal treatment of women and the potential for abuse and exploitation. There have been numerous reports of young girls being forced into marriage with older men, and of women being isolated and controlled by their husbands and male leaders. The FLDS has also been accused of engaging in fraudulent activities, including the sale of fake, quote, miracle cures, and the misappropriation of millions of dollars in charitable donations. In 2019, the group's former leader, Lyle Jeffs, was sentenced to prison for his role in a multi-million-dollar food stamp fraud scheme. Despite these controversies, the FLDS continues to attract new members and maintain a strong presence in the Twin Cities and other areas. The group's secretive nature and tight-knit community have made it difficult for outsiders to understand its inner workings and to assess the well-being of its members. However, it is clear that the FLDS and other similar polygamous groups raise serious concerns about the treatment of women and children and the potential for abuse and exploitation within these groups. It is important that these issues are addressed and that steps are taken to ensure that all individuals, regardless of their religion or belief system, are treated with respect and dignity. This may involve regulatory actions to protect against fraud and abuse, as well as efforts to educate and support individuals who may be at risk of being exploited or mistreated. It may also involve more nuanced conversations about the role of religion and belief in society and the appropriate limits on the autonomy of religious communities. Ultimately, finding a balance between respecting the right to freedom of belief and ensuring the protection of basic human rights will be a key to addressing challenges posed by the FLDS and other similar polygamous groups. In recent years, there have been increasing efforts to bring attention to and address the issues facing women and children in polygamous communities. One organization that has been working on this issue is the Sound Choices Coalition, which was founded by former members of polygamous groups and provides support and resources for individuals seeking to leave these communities. The organization offers a range of services, including counseling, legal assistance, and educational support, and works to raise awareness about the challenges faced by individuals in polygamous communities. In addition to the work of organizations like the Sound Choices Coalition, there have been a number of efforts to reform laws and policies related to polygamy and other controversial practices. For example, in Utah, the state legislature has passed a number of laws aimed at cracking down on polygamy and other forms of abuse with polygamous communities. These laws include measures to strengthen penalties for polygamy and related crimes, and to provide increased support and resources for victims of abuse. However, the issue of polygamy and the treatment of women and children in polygamous communities remains a complex and controversial one, and finding effective solutions will likely require a multifaceted approach. In conclusion, the FLDS and other polygamous groups raise important and complex issues about religion, freedom of belief, and the role of the state in regulating religious practices. While it is important to respect the right to freedom of belief and the autonomy of religious communities, like we've previously discussed, it's crucial that the basic human rights of all individuals are protected. Addressing the challenges posed by the FLDS and other polygamous groups will require a handful of approaches that balances respect for religious freedom and the need to protect against abuse and exploitation. Well, let us know your thoughts on this topic in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, hit that bell notification button to be notified of future videos, and if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/TCNS. Your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring in new hosts, be able to pay them, and hopefully take this show on the road. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.